Now I would like to go to setting the beat, and we'll need to talk about the definition of that. Going to have to define some terms first, though. So this is a Seth Thomas movement. Here's the escape wheel with those sharp pointy teeth. This is an anchor. It's been called a verge in the literature, but this, to me, this isn't a verge. A verge is this. This is a crown wheel and verge. So very different escapement than this one. I would call this a recoil strip palate escapement. Okay, because as it runs, the escape wheel recoils. So we have the escape wheel, we have the anchor, which is a recoil strip palate. We have the crutch wire. We'll be talking more about this a little later. And then we have the crutch foot. Looks kind of like a foot there. Through the crutch foot passes the piece that the pendulum hangs on. Okay. This whole unit in American clocks is called a feather. In other clocks, it's made up of a suspension unit and a leader. And then the pendulum. This is the part that swings back and forth, and it hangs on this hook. Okay, and those are the parts that we really need to know about for today. Now, the beat. That is, it's a non-technical term for the sound this makes when it runs. Let me get the escape wheel going in the right direction here. It's a tick-tock sound, and what that essentially is, it's the noise made when the escape wheel tooth drops off of one pallet. So we have the exit pallet and the entrance pallet, dropping off of one pallet onto the other one. Tick, tock, tick, tock. And this was a pretty bad movement to pick. I just grabbed it off a shelf. You can see how worn that escape pivot is up here. Okay, so the beat technically then is recording the drop. It's the sound of the drop. Now we want that beat to be equal. And the reason being, if it's not equal, then the clock won't run well. I have some diagrams here to try and show us that. Okay, so here's our tick and our tock. This is how far the pendulum would travel. So in this instance, we would have tick, tock, tick, tock, or tock, tick, tick, tock, tock, tick, and that's fairly even. However, if we get it out of beat, if it sounds like it's limping, okay, and I'm moving that a little closer, now we have tick, tock, tock, tick, tick, tock, tock, tick, tick, tock. Okay, hopefully you can hear the difference. If it gets too far, then we don't get a tick. That means the clock stops. This portion that I'm moving back and forth, this is called overswing. This is the amount of swing beyond the tick and the tock. This represents a very healthy running clock. I have another one here that's not quite so healthy. Okay? Let me try and get out of the reflection there. There we go. Alright, this is not healthy. So if this is out of beat, even just a little bit, the clock will stop. Okay, there's very little overswing here. Now I have an example of that. And I've just given that a push, so because I bumped it. You can see that's not moving very far. Let me show you the escapement. Oh, that's going to fight with me. Wouldn't you know it? It stopped with the butterfly right there. Let me see if I can hold it out of the way for us here. This is a Brokaw escapement. There you can kind of see it. Anyway, the action is not very good. As a tooth is let off, the pendulum goes the other direction almost immediately. So this clock would stop fairly frequently just for a breeze going by. All right, let's see what's next on the list. Oh, the tools involved. So, again, reaching into tight places. Get a few things out of the way here. Reaching into tight places, it's useful to have some tools. This is called a tweaker, and I think they are commercially available nowadays. This is one that I made years ago. This is a gutter nail into a cut-off piece of dowel, just hammered in, and then a notch cut in the end. And what that allows me to do is to reach in and tweak the crutch wire just a little bit one way or the other. Okay? And that's how we'll set the beat. And I'll go through in depth how to set the beat here in just a minute. Well, why don't we just go back to that other bench and we'll do the beat. There we go. And I can show you a couple of different tools here. So this is the clock that we just installed the mechanism in. The next step in the installation process of this is setting the beat. And I'll show you my level board. This, making a lot of noise, this is a board that, this is some countertop that is cut out for a sink, and I just salvaged it. And then put these bolts in here. And the plans for this are there on your screen under the downloads or the handouts. And what you can do is put a level there. Make sure it's level by turning the screws one way or the other. And you can level it in both directions if you like. And then you set your clock on there, and now it's on a level surface. Install the pendulum. Another tool that's useful in setting the beat is something called a beat amplifier. This is a timing machine that also has the beat amp option. I'll go ahead and hook this up so that we can hear it. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Okay, hopefully you can hear that that is slightly out of beat. Now, as you get more familiar with how the beat is supposed to sound, a regular beat sounds good to the ear. An irregular beat will make you cringe. I was watching a TV show the other day. It was a British show, and all of the clocks were out of beat, and I almost couldn't watch it. I had a friend that when we would go over for supper, he would knock one of his clocks out of beat just to see how long it would take me to find it. About 30 seconds. Okay, let me get my tweaker here. I left it over at my bench. Now, how do I know? In order to set the beat, we bend the crutch wire. Okay, what that does is that adjusts the relationship of the anchor to the pendulum. Tick-tock, tick-tock. You can hear that it's long on this left side. That's the direction I'm going to bend that crutch wire. I'll reach in here, stop the anchor, tweak that just a little bit. tick, now it's gone the other way. Now that's to my ear, but if you don't have the ear, how do you know? So here's a method. Okay, it's called the minimal swing method. We go until it ticks, and then let it go. And it talks. Let's go the other way. Talk. And it didn't tick. Alright, that means that it's long on this side. Let's go ahead and tweak it the other way just a hair. We'll try it again. And I went too far. So this is a back and forth. You'll get pretty good at it after a while. Another tool, we'll see how close I am there. Another tool is turning this. This happens to be a time tracks, and we can turn it to timer, mode, and it says balance. We want this number to be as small as possible. Okay, in the 40s, that's not very good. What I can't tell, though, is this minus. I can't tell what direction that's telling me to go. So then I'd have to go back. If you get it just minimal swing, tick, tick, it sounds like it's got to go that way just a hair. We can adjust the preset average because the numbers are really bouncing around there. Adjusting the preset average gives us a larger sample. So I'm going to let that run for a second. So some things that can cause errors in the beat, when setting the beat. Listening to it by ear, sometimes you can hear it go in beat and out of beat. Sometimes you'll hear a hard soft, gets really mushy. So there are some things in the escapement, in the movement itself, that can cause these errors. They're called beat errors. And that's some of the reason these numbers were jumping around so much. You can have wear on the anchor. You can have wear on the escape wheel teeth. You can have wear in the escape pivot. You can have dirt on the escape wheel, which will again cause that let off to be a little bit early or late. And all of that's introduced as errors in the beat. Minus 22, that's pretty good right there. It'd be nice if we could get it down into the single digits. Probably aren't able to do that with this clock. Okay, so I showed you one method of setting the beat. I'm going to show you several different styles of anchors. Alright, so I just grabbed a bunch out of here. So, defining terms again. Here's the crutch foot. Hopefully we can recognize that. Here's the anchor. This is a little bit different style. This is a volume. This one has, it's not something that you can bend, so it has a feature that's a slip clutch. This is actually movable. See, I can rotate it all the way around if I wanted to. So when it's in the clock, you would reach up and you would push that just a little bit one way or the other. Generally, what you do is put it to an extreme. The palate bottoms out on the escape wheel, and that's okay as long as the escape wheel can handle it. If you don't feel it can, you reach up and put a finger on there before you rotate it so that it doesn't bottom out against the escape wheel. So this is the friction clutch part. Here's another one that came out of a regulator. This happens to be a Deadbeat. We have the crutch wire, the crutch foot looks a little different. It's a pin this time. And here's how we adjust the beat, by turning this screw. And that rotates the relationship between the anchor and the crutch. Okay? That's really handy. They do that on Viana Regulators as well. Okay, this is a Viana Regulator anchor, which includes the crutch and the crutch foot. And then we have these little screws here. Now the crutch then goes through the pendulum. It attaches to the pendulum somehow. In this instance, there's a hole in the pendulum, and that's what this slides into. And then one other feature. This is a leader. Remember I talked about the suspension spring. Suspension spring would be up here. The leader and the pendulum would hang off of here. This has an adjustable finger that the crutch foot would pass through. And so that's how this is adjusted. The beat is adjusted on this one. You'll see these on 1970s grandfather, grandmother clocks. Okay. Clear this stuff away. Okay, now I would like to talk a little bit about wall clocks and setting the beat on wall clocks. Get to the, oh, that was it. That was the right camera. So we have a Cuckoo Clock here. Let me hook up our beat amplifier. Hopefully you can hear that. Cuckoo clocks, hang them on the wall on a screw that's in a stud. You'll want to, if you can, get a level someplace on them. This one is not real easy to see. The whole goal is to have it look nice on the wall. If it's hung by a door, then you want it to look straight next to any straight lines. And we'll listen to the beat. And to set the beat, for the customer to adjust the beat, they need to have the ear. They have to have an even tick-tock sound. That's a little off. Getting closer. That's pretty good right there. Now, cuckoo clocks, you're tugging on them. When you wind them, you're tugging on them. This is an 8-day clock. You'd be tugging on it once a week. 30-hour clocks, you're tugging on them probably twice a day. So tug on it before you set the beat. So as the clock associate, tug on it, see if it will get a natural position on the wall. Sometimes these clocks will twist, and oftentimes they'll twist the exact same way every time, throwing them out of beat. So if it still looks good on the wall, still looks straight after all of the tugging, but it's out of beat, then it's time to adjust the beat, and you adjust it by bending that little crutch wire. Okay? That just went into warning. All right, another one that we can look at. This one is a German box wall, RA, so called because of the R and the A on the pendulum, for retard and ascend. This one has a very nice feature. It has a beat plaque. Okay? So when you hang it on the wall, you want everything to be nice and straight. It has an arrow, and that arrow would line up with the point on the beat plaque, which is also an arrow. You have to get right in front of it, though, to see. Give the pendulum a push. Listen for the even tick-tock sound. If it does not have an even tick-tock sound, then you have to adjust the beat. This one has the friction clutch on the anchor, so you would reach up behind and push it one way or the other. This one happens to be in beat. And we can also tell that this one has really good overswing. Okay, use your eyes and your ears. Picture when we have the tick and the tock, which you probably can't hear very well. Okay, you can see how healthy that swing is. The tick and the tock is a long time before the pendulum starts back the other way. Okay, good healthy running clock. Alright, we talked a little bit about talking to the customer. I'd like to take just a few minutes, the 2 or 3 minutes that we have left, and give you kind of my pattern of when I'm handing a clock back to a customer. So, of course, hang them on a screw that's in a stud. In this instance, they'd hang the pendulum, they would get the pendulum lined up with the arrows, they'd give it a good swing, and then listen for the even tick-tock sound. Every time you wind the clock, you have to listen for an even tick-tock sound, especially with cuckoo clocks. Okay, in this instance, as long as they haven't bumped anything, everything should be in beat. If it needs to shift on the wall just a little bit, then of course they can do that. And then over here, with the mantle clocks, put the clock on a level surface and listen for the even tick-tock sound. If we don't get the even tick-tock sound, then they may have to shim it one way or the other. Okay, wood shims, I have seen nickels, dimes, quarters, just depending on how level their surface is. Okay, and as I mentioned, if their clock isn't super healthy, if it hasn't been recently restored, then the overswing may not be sufficient for it to be out of beat at all. So the beat could be the difference between it running or not running.